All right, I think this is going to be the first in a series of kind of self-discovery for me here. I stayed up way past my bedtime last night plugging business income and tax strategy questions into AI using Grok 3. I was blown away by the level of detail, and the numbers and feedback is consistent with my experience in the market. And I got into some really specific Social Security, business structure, tax code questions, and I learned a lot. From what I can see here, everything's super accurate, and I'm also seeing, as I later years wind down my business and ultimately retire, I think now with AI I have full confidence I won't need to employ a CPA for a basic tax return. 5 years ago, I did a comparison between being a sole proprietor and an S corporation, obviously US specific, but you could use the same logic in any country to find more advantageous ways to minimize taxes in your business structure. So top level, and I'm back playing from my knowledge here with tax efficiency, but thought I'd ask, what is considered a reasonable income for videographers in Texas? And to get back this explanation, you can certainly plug the same thing in if you want to read it in detail. But basically, in a major market like Austin or Dallas, 70 to 85,000 annually. I would say that is in line with my experience, discussions, job offers I've received for full-time work, and also what some like job board, like local TV stations for a news photographer, are paying on the lower side of the 40 to 50. Starting with less experience. And then says here, higher experience, freelance, 30 for part-time to 100 full-time high-end clients. Yeah, more like on the 100,000 side. So then I thought, okay, let me refine the language a little bit. And instead of just being a videographer, what if I'm a corporate video cinematographer, which I think is a more accurate description to what I do. Response back numbers got higher, right? So now it's saying major market, Austin, Dallas, Houston, 80 to 100,000 for an experienced pro, and 45 to 60 in a smaller market. And then established, is this freelance here? Full-time, part-time freelancer, 40 to 60. And full-time 100 to 150. I'm looking to not turn down work, but I'm not actively marketing and chasing new business at this stage in my career. And I do want to turn my trade and my business into a part-time freelance thing going forward. And I've sort of been doing that the last couple of years if you watch my vlogs. So this is all what sparked my interest in re-asking these questions. And this whole LLC versus S Corp question comes up time and again. I've done one-on-one consults and then presented this question, and just other peers out in the field. Many, I give them the advice, it's clearly beneficial to put a little more effort into becoming an S Corp, and they opt not to, and year over year, they're continuing to pay more tax now than they need to. So that plays into the next question. So this is the question, LLC versus S Corp, based on that income research, which again is in line with my experience. I'm going to assume I'm corporate cinematographer, full-time freelance on the higher experience, higher pay side. So $150,000 of gross income. And that is not top line revenue, total invoice amount. That's after any business top line deductions. So might have had a 250,000 plus year of total invoices, but what was left to distribute in the form of compensation to me, the business owner, let's call it 150,000. And I want to compare S Corp to LLC, and then state of Texas in my case, which doesn't have state income tax, married filing jointly. That's my scenario. I did not elect to include any dependents for children. You get currently in the U.S. $2,000 per child deducted from the total federal taxes. So we'll skip through all the breakdown. Again, you can plug this in to get the results. Maybe, you know what, I'll copy and paste this in the description of this video, but I want to get down to this comparison table. So also QBI, I put that in there, qualified business income. That's a new tax thing. I think it went into place in 2017. I don't know if it expires at some point, but my understanding is that was something to like stimulate, small business growth here in the U.S. and it gets you a little deduction off the company profits. So the numbers are obviously different for your adjusted gross income. Can go into those specifics if you just read through the description. But bottom line, what I wanted to see is to be an S Corp, you're going to pay $6,800 less in federal and FICA taxes to be an S Corp versus an LLC. There's a little bit more filing and effort required for an S Corp, but you're still way ahead. Like I don't know what my accountant would charge me for the difference between an LLC and an S Corp. Maybe a couple $100 difference. Effective tax rate 20% versus 15%. Now, I'm shortchanging myself to some extent here long term as I'm paying less into Social Security for that benefit once I'm of retirement age. But with the Social Security bend points, as you income climbs and you contribute more of your income into Social Security, it yields less. It's like the lower bend points pay out the most. I went down that rabbit hole last night also. I think I'll do a separate video on that in this series if people are interested. But basically, I should be taking not all of this, but a portion and investing this in some kind of retirement savings like a SEP IRA, or a Roth IRA, 401k. I've covered some of those, and you got to go back a couple of years in my vlog where I talked about the different retirement plans that I've done. For giggles here, let's modify that. Let's ratchet that back. Let's go 90,000, 90, and I'm going to do 50% of that as salary and see what kind of table we get. So in that case, it's $5,100 less taxes, FICA taxes paid as a S Corp. All right, let's continue this discussion in the comments below. Thanks.